All right, welcome everyone. This is a Viper Professional Training and Support webinar. Today's date is tax day, April 15th, 2019. This is the Monday evening webinar, and the title of today's webinar is Using Micro Swings and Predictors Efficiently. And as everyone knows that's been to our webinars or our live trading room, everything that we say and do at Viper Trading Systems is for educational purposes only. Futures trading, Forex trading, any kind of financial instruments trading involves risk. Therefore, there's always risk of loss. You should only trade discretionary capital, and that's money that you can afford to lose. Nothing said in this webinar, other webinars we have, our live trading room, or anything else with Viper Trading Systems should ever be construed as trading or investment advice. And as always, everyone does trade at their own sole discretion. Any questions on the disclaimer? If not, we're going to get started here. All right, bear with me just one second. I don't know if we've got this one on the website yet. I need to actually do this one in a white background so everybody can print it. I like it in the black background because it looks cool and everything, but unfortunately, for printing, that's terrible. Okay, but anyway, just real quick, let's go over for some new people that are here and things like that. Okay. Because as everyone knows that's been to our particular trading room and webinars, I like to draw on charts. I think drawing on your charts is absolutely critical. So I draw wedges. I use my predictors. I use boxed in trades. I draw lines. I use rays. I use arrows where I'm looking for the trade up or down, and I even draw channels. Okay. And the one thing you want to do always when you're trading is determine first off if you are trending or chopping with your horizontal lines and your trend lines, okay? Because if you're going from support to resistance and no higher, in a sloppy range, then, you can't trade like what I'm going to teach tonight as easily, okay? You must also know what the minor trend, the secondary trend, the medium trend, and the longer term trend are, okay? And we're going to talk about that some tonight. It's going to be mostly micro trends or micro swings though. Okay, you need to also know what the trend is on the left and the right. That's extremely important right there. Because if you trade against the left side of that chart, you're going to get dinged more than you're going to make money. And I'll show you that on a chart that I've got here in just a minute. So draw your trend lines, your horizontal lines, your wedges, and your boxes. Use your trend bands for continued trends. And if you miss a thrust, you have to wait for the retrace or at least a minor lightning breakout with very tight stops. Okay, so in other words, if you're trying to get in the rest of a thrust, then you've got to, just go for like a scalp or stay with a little micro trend, and I'll show you how to do that tonight. And, you can take, because let's face it, you may get up at 7:30 in the morning, for instance, and it's in a thrust, but maybe it's going to thrust another 30 ticks. Okay, so you can take those trades. All right, use lightning 1 or 2 as minor breakouts and retraces. We're going to talk about that quite a bit tonight, lightning 1 and 2. Use your lightning 3 as your medium trend and watch for the breakout and the retrace back into support for longs and vice versa for a short. And of course, use object trader tools to see clear trade setups like boxing in. And that's pretty much what I like to do on my charts right there. And if a person masters this, you can pretty much say that, you're actually going places, because that type of drawing on your charts will get you there. Now, this next screen, real quick, for newer people, I'm going to go over, is some of my favorite trades. Okay, now we're not going to talk about these as much tonight. This is just so you can record this and see, what I kind of look for and what Charles looks for, I'm sure, too. All right, mid-band by the rules, ratcheting up or down. Phantom only by rules and after a trend change. Minor box opens, CL market, or even the equity market if you have the urge to do so. We do that quite often. The 100% move or more of a first thrust after a retrace to take profits. Trend line closes, scale in, a scale out entries. Fibonacci retracements on larger moves, 50 ticks or more. I like those because you'll find that they'll bounce pretty good and roll over at those Fibonacci levels. Scalp with or against the trend, support or resistance in chop. That's when it's chopping, you got to buy support, sell resistance. And if you're trending downward on your chop, you need to sell resistance and buy support. And if the opposite, you need to buy support and sell resistance. And I like deep probes, red for long, blue for short, with rules, and pullbacks into stealth or line 6 or line 2. Those are your minimum criteria trades and leg 3 trades. Okay, so those are some of my favorite trades there. Now let's look and see what micro trends actually have to do with trading. These are real charts right here, but I went ahead and marked up one pretty well so everybody can see. This is the exact same chart over here on the left that we're looking at. See it? You can clearly see the lightning swings and everything are exactly the same. Okay, this is the same chart. Now, what I look at, first off, you have to identify a left side of your chart. Okay, and it doesn't have to be back like, 3 hours ago to be the left side of the chart. Okay, it just has to be to where, you look to the left, okay, and then you trade the right side of the chart over here. Okay, so for instance, like let's say here we had a high, we had a low, we had a lower high, but we didn't know we had a lower high until it took out this swing. Now, I personally like to take out this little swing by around 7 ticks or so, 5 to 7. 1 bar is usually just not enough because that's what you get when that happens. See that swing there? You might say, well, okay, you have a swing here, a lower high and a lower low. Did that close a bar? Well, it didn't do like this one did. See, that's a good, several ticks below. And I like that one a lot better. Okay, because you're going to find when a trade's really going to work your way is going to be when it thrusts down below previous support by a little bit, like say 7, 8, 10 ticks even a lot of times. Okay, even more, because when they start evening out and bottoming out, you're going to see them barely take out the lows, and then they'll take off and go the other way. Okay, so always look to the left side of the chart to trade this right side of the chart. Look at your identified micro swing. Now this is an identified micro swing. You have a low, you have a high, you have a lower low. Identified micro swing on the left. Now you'll notice that then they kind of did like a little lower high, little lower low, little lower high, little lower low. And then they tried to take this out. But see, you're not going long because you're not taking out the left side of the chart. Okay, if I was to go long on this chart, I would be looking for more like this. It would have to take this area out and then come back and kiss it as support and then take off. Okay, everybody sees that, right? Because this is an overall downtrend. Okay, now always in your mind at least, let's go ahead and get this a little bit bigger for now so we can see it better. Okay. Now, let's get rid of this too. We don't need it right now. All right, so as you can clearly see, this was support. Now, this is basically a little bit more basic, but with 4-range charts, you're going to find that this type of trading works extremely well. Okay, because for instance, if I would have been up at midnight, I would have probably shorted this trade because it came back into resistance and rolled over. Now, I don't normally like them unless they do an A, a B, an A, a B, and a C. For instance, and always look to the left to see where they haven't been too. Okay, for instance, this little swing right here, draw it, and you'll see that it's testing, pretty much this swing right here. Okay, notice that it hasn't tested this one and it hasn't tested this one. Okay, so you'll find when they do those ABCs, they're going to come back and check every one of those swings they broke down at before they continue their trek, if they're going to continue down. Let's see, Mindy's asking, when you finally started making profit on a daily basis, was it like a light bulb turn on? Oh yeah, years ago. Like you almost get it like you just start seeing it. It's like a third eye opens up and you just see things. At what point did you identify the micro swing on the left? Well, Kurt, what you got to do is basically, for instance, I started this chart like right here. If you started back here to give an example, that's a high, that's a low. This is an identified swing also. Okay, because it took out this low by quite a bit enough, right? Okay, so this is also an identified swing for sure. Okay, that's an identified swing. And I'll go ahead and just copy that and paste it, and we'll bring it down here so we show that one is also. Okay, that's definitely an identified swing on the left side of the chart. But I like to look a little bit more to what it's doing now on the left side of the chart. You know, for instance, if this would have gone down a high, a low, a lower high, and a lower low, and then finally took this out, we wouldn't be looking at shorts as much, would we? Okay, let's see, because it took out the previous low. Correct, right. See, and the thing is, you can't just wick the low either. To give you an example, let's say that this would have not gone ahead and gone down. Pretend this line is not here. What if it just barely took that out and then bounced a little bit and started going sideways? Well, that wouldn't be identifying that swing yet. Okay, I like to take it out by, you know, a good couple of bars at least. You know, you just got to take it out by some, otherwise it's not continuing the trend. Now over here on this side of the chart right here, see where you have a high, low, lower high, lower low? That's just like an ABC is all it is. That's just basically, you know, trying to make a lower low than here even, and it did. Okay, and then this is your new identified swing right here on the right side of the chart, because it never took out this swing to the left. So you could short 64.50 as an example. Let's see. Well, I mean, you know, this did double top here, so, but we're looking at what's already happened here. So yeah, you could have definitely shorted in here more than likely. We'd have to look at the actual chart and see what the bars look like. But this is where we're at right now. This is what I'm trying to show, is if we can actually get a trade based on what we're seeing in real time. Oops, sorry about that. Let me fix that. Okay, so in other words, this has already happened. Could you have shorted this up here? Yes, but we got up at like 1 o'clock in the morning, say. Let's just say we just got up at 1 o'clock. Now we're looking at this side of the chart. Okay, now to me, let's go ahead and go to the actual chart and see what's going on real quick. All right, let's draw our little box area. We've got support right here that they broke. We've got support right here that they broke. Come on, draw. And we've got support right here that they broke. So right here is a sweet spot to me for another trade. Okay, now we may have missed it because it did come into my box. See how I checked that? That's the way I draw in that room and everything. Okay, so in a case like this, since I like an ABC, I'd like for it to come up here again. It may not. But what other trade could a person be looking for? Can anybody see a trade that hasn't set up yet but probably will? Because if you think about this same way that this chart is drawing, you can more than likely say, okay, if it breaks here, like this, see, is that an arrow line? Yeah, that's an arrow line. All right, if it breaks here and comes back and kisses there, that would be another trade. See, this is when that third eye will kick in, is when you start really seeing this micro support and resistance areas. Okay, because, you know, I could tell, for instance, if I couldn't get this trade, that I'll more than likely get this one. But I'm not going to take a breakout. I would take it when it comes back and kisses resistance. Or if you take the breakout, you don't let it go back against you. Okay, now I'd rather have it here than down here, but I could tell you that more than likely, if this breaks, it will come back and kiss, and it would more than likely roll if it decides to continue heading down. Let's see, sometimes the KISS does not meet minimum criteria. Well, KISS doesn't have to meet minimum criteria, Mindy. That's one thing that, you know, a person's got to see. If you can clearly draw on your charts and it doesn't meet minimum criteria, that doesn't mean I won't take that trade. Because to me, right here on this chart right now, this is a sweet spot for this trade. Not way up here, because what's the deal? Well, you have a high here, a low, lower high, try to get a lower low. Now this is on the left side of the chart. There's no question about it. That is your high. Okay, so it could come back in there, but to be a legitimate downtrend, it should actually be a lower high. Okay, so we would just simply follow this if it was to decide to retrace either into this area of support that's now resistance, or if it breaks up above here, I'd be looking more into like this area here. See that swing, micro swing, and possibly even this one here. So this would be like a secondary area that if we break up at all, I would be looking for a trade, and even predictors telling me that too. Okay, but what a person's got to do though is, you know, if they've broken support, to give an example, like they did just now, I expect that to hold on a pullback on what we call the micro trend. Now, if it decides to break the micro trend, then all bets are off and you'll probably go up higher. But you shouldn't take out this swing if they're going to head down. Okay, so this is actually a little sweet spot here for a trade, and this is a little sweet spot here for a trade. Okay, now if we go ahead and break down, we're going to have to wait for this trade instead, because, you know, for instance, if you drew a trend line here, that doesn't look like too good of a trade to me, you know, because I've got support right here. It could bounce. Okay, let's see. So if you were in that trade, would you put your stop at that point, even though not identified? Well, keep in mind that it is identified, though, if it breaks it on the upside, because see, you have a low, you have a high, you have a higher low. So if you were in this trade, say from here already, you could easily put your stop just right above that swing, because if it breaks it, then it would actually be, you know, doing a little low, high, higher low, higher high. But if it barely does it, then it's more than likely not changing trends. See that? Let's see what it actually did. I'm curious, because I don't get up this early in the morning. You want to set up Object Trader? We can do that. Somebody said set up Object Trader. Hopefully we don't mess anything up. All right, let's go ahead and put us a region. And we'll put our region like right at that top. And I'm not going to take this trade unless it at least goes up into, touch that line there. So I'm going to go short outside, touch +2, and I'll even go short inside with another one if it happens to break that one. Let's see if we can get something. Okay, see, it may be doing what I'm wanting it to do. See the little low, high, higher low? You know, if this was to go up here and roll over in this sweet spot, because this is where resistance is, then this is what we call a micro trend type trade. Let's see, Jan, Gary, can you tell how would you take those short trades, box, bar, close, wedge, etc.? Oh, just like I'm doing right here. Let's go ahead and do that. Okay, now see, this actually got you in the trade with 1. Now I would go one more time if it happens to go to the top of that box, because that's a resistance area. Okay, so we might feel a little bit of heat, but we'll also stop it out if it goes above this box and actually closes. So we wouldn't have to leave our stop at like 15 ticks. We can bring it here for right now. All right, see, now that's 1. Let's see if we get a touch +2. Inside would mean that if it goes 2 ticks inside this box, it would fire 1 more contract. That's 1 tick. I'll change it to 1. That way it'll be 2. Okay, there we go. We just got 2. All right. Now, see, we did that based on micro support. Now, if this does decide to break up, then it's going to have a low, a high, a higher low, and a higher high. When it just does it by like a bar like it's doing now, that's not technically changing trends at all, right? Even on the micro side, even though this did turn green, okay, because we're still kissing resistance on the left side of the chart, okay? Now, more than likely, I would probably even do this if I was trading it. And if it goes outside that box again, I'd probably add 1. Because it just kissed resistance, and I'm not feeling any heat yet. Where'd my, oh, my stop's right there. Got it. And I'll put that on exit on close. See there? Okay. Now that this is trying to drop, okay, we can't really lower our stop just yet because they could wick us out. But since that's resistance, and that's resistance, we could go ahead and lower that stop. See there? Because it shouldn't break above that. Everybody see that? Now watch and see if this doesn't do exactly what I said it'll do here too. More than likely. All right. Now usually you want to get one of your runners out of the way, or even two if you want to. Okay. And you can go to break even anytime you want to as far as that goes. Kind of watch your dollars, what I usually like to do. You know, if it gets to like $300 and I'm trading the kiddos account, I usually hit, to buy one of those back. And then maybe ride it, or maybe buy two of them. Just depends what you want to do. I don't like to just grab $100 trade, but even $100 is better than nothing, right? There's 170. So you could always buy one back, and you can do it with market order too. Probably should have bought one just then, shouldn't we? That's all right. Got a lower high. Let's see if it'll take it down. Not taking it down just yet, but see how it's trying to kiss this resistance again right here. That's why you draw your boxes on your charts. You got to look to the left to trade the right. Okay, there we go. Now, if we got $300, we could easily just go, you know what? Let's just cover two of them. This is what I usually do when I'm trading the kiddos account, because all I want to get for them every day is at least $300 to $400 to even $500. And see, there's $300 trade right there. Now, you are at support, so you really should be covering something, right? Okay. Such a nice dad. Yeah. It's just one of those things that, since I know how to trade, it's kind of a way to just help them out. I worked 80-hour weeks when I had my TV and appliance stores, and I wouldn't wish that on anybody. We had our kiddos at the shop and all that, but it was still work. We were just there all the time. I worked easily 80-hour weeks, sometimes 100-hour weeks. And I just promised my wife that I was not going to let our kids do that. Okay, see, there's $300. So couldn't you just go ahead and cover one of those? Well, we must have gotten out of one, didn't we? Oh, we got 10 ticks. That's why. Never mind. We don't have to cover another one. All right. Now watch, though, and see if you can't do the same analogy right here. Because, see, you've got a swing here and a swing here. So if this does decide to break, could you also box this area right here? And more than likely, it would come into this box, because I can see it right now. Looking to the left to trade the right. And you can't go above here. Okay, because otherwise you'd be taking out a micro swing to the upside. Okay, but let's say that you weren't even in this trade period. You want to see if it'll work? Let's just try it. Watch us lose some. But I'm going to diagnose it, though, because we do it in real time in the room. Did I turn on short? Out? I must have had it on. Well, we're in it. Let's go ahead and do short at that top too, just in case it kisses that micro resistance right there. Might not go back in it, mightn't it? Might just head down. Looks like it's going to. I'm going to go ahead and add one, because see, I'm seeing it break even this little micro swing. Now, if you're gutsy like that and you see this happen in real time and you want to go ahead and take a chance, see there, and then tighten the daylights out of your stop, granted, that'd still be $270 gone if this was to decide to go back above resistance. Okay? But I'm protected on that trade. Okay? Now, let's go ahead and let this play out a little bit. Hopefully it goes on down instead of taking out my swing, but we've got our stop set, so we're okay. There you go. Okay, now usually when I see a bar go up like that, I go ahead and cover one. Okay, simply because you could get a second bar up. You can even cover two if you want to. Okay. All right. Now, let's say that you weren't even in a trade. You get up at, I don't know, this is about 2:30 in the morning, so I wouldn't get up at that time anyway. But we'll draw an area that should actually get us in this trade. Let's see if it'll retrace. There. Well, that's close enough to that one, so I would probably bring that box like so. I'd try to get in at the top with a short, if it had come up in that area, right there. And then I'll also turn it on if it goes inside that box to actually take it even if it goes outside the box. Okay? Because anytime they break support with these micro swings, they're going to go back and check resistance. You know, the 4-range charts with their little zigzagging and everything is some of the best charts you'll ever find to get in the trade at the proper spot. Now, let me ask everybody a quick question. If this was to decide to head up instead of down, what would you be looking at? Not that it's going to, but you've got to have it in your mind just in case. Because I already see on this chart that this is a good identified swing. See your low, your high, your lower low. That's a little ABC. So that's definitely resistance. This is resistance here. Okay. So if this was to take this out, I'm not saying it will, but I've always got in the back of my mind, if this was to break up and pull back and kiss and take off, I would buy that. Okay. Now I'm not saying it's going to, but in my mind, I'm watching for that type of trade. Okay. Now what I'm looking for right now though is this. I'm looking for a thrust down below support, and I'm looking for a pullback into resistance anywhere in that box. And frankly, when it gets inside that box, I'll pull the trigger. Okay, because that's resistance and it should hold on a pullback. Okay, now we've got a lot of things on our chart that'll kind of, keep you in the right side of the trade to begin with, and one of them are those predictors. Okay, let's see if we get a predictor. We should, if it gets a little zigzag. We're flat right now. Let's see if we can get a retrace. You ever notice that if you jump into a thrust, it's usually going to be too late? Let's say that you shorted it right about a second ago. See how it's retracing right now? That's why you got to be careful jumping in thrusts. Okay, see how it's starting to stair step back up? It's not stair stepping yet, but there's a higher low. Maybe. Nope, not yet. There's a higher low. Look at our predictor. Now these predictors, by the way, see how we've drawn on our chart? We know where this trade is going to be. Okay, we know that they haven't checked this, they haven't checked this, and they haven't checked this. Okay, so that's why I've got my box set for here, here, and here. And if it goes inside this, I'm going to stair step in with orders. Because see, they won't always necessarily go to the top one first. They may check this one and roll over. They may check this one and roll over, or they may go to the top one and roll over. But they don't always do it in a certain order. But we do know that they haven't checked this, this, or this. These three right here. Okay, so if they get up in there, I'm going to short it. Okay, now do they always go to mid-band? Well, a lot of times they do. And that little trade, by the way, when we get that indicator, will holler out. And the way we've got it designed is that if it touches this line at all, it's going to tell you that you're looking for a mid-band trade. Okay. Now, if you were to take a mid-band trade on here, and let's say that it didn't go your way, all right, high, low, lower high, much lower low. Now, on the right side of the chart, you have a low, a high, same low. So it scratches that out. You don't start counting. Now you count. High, we don't know yet. We don't know if we get a low. We don't know if we get another high, okay, because it's just straight up. Okay, a little double bottom. So the area that I'm looking for a trade in is right in here. We've already got it marked. And I wouldn't let it go any higher than right there. See the swing on the left? Because if this was to come up at all, it should hit its head at resistance, right? If it misses these resistance areas, then it should hit its head at this one. Okay, so if I get in like at 24, that's a 7-tick stop on that. But I like to wait for the rollover to begin with, because if you don't wait for the rollover, you sometimes catch a missile. And we never want to catch a missile when we're short. Okay? But we clearly have on our chart where resistance is, so that's where we're going to look for a trade. Let's see if we can get it. Now, I'm going to do this one a little bit more conservative because I want to show you how to do it with micro swings. And let's see if we can get a little micro swing set up where we can actually draw it on the chart. I'm going to draw a lightning 1. That's a little more micro. And it won't even draw yet, see, because of this double bottom. So we'll put it there. It will only draw when it starts getting a pullback and in other words, a zigzag. Okay, if we get a zigzag. Now, if it goes up to this mid band and kisses my level of resistance, I'm going to short that thing. Okay. But if you want to be more safe on it, you've got to wait for it to hit your area of resistance and then start to roll over. And that's why we box them in. Okay, so let's see if we can get that. Now notice right here so far, we're not drawing lightning 1 just yet, but if that bar closes up, we should start drawing lightning 1 pretty soon. See, I've already got it trying to draw 6401, but it won't draw until it zigzags. Let's see if it'll zigzag. Now remember, we're not going to just short it here. This is a minimum criteria trade, come to think of it. You're absolutely right on that. But notice that I've got my resistance they haven't checked yet. So I'm not going to just take a minimum criteria trade unless I can do it more with like a trend line or something. Here we go. We're going to get our lightning. See it? High, low. It'll draw here if this takes out this little swing. And that will identify this as my new swing. If it goes up, that is. Okay. Now remember, I like an ABC. There's an ABC. Okay, see that ABC? Now we're trying to go into our little sweet spot, and we'll see if we can get a trade. Now if it goes inside that box, I'm going to go ahead and turn on my short out also. But it's got to go in the box, at least near my resistance. Close inside the box. It's trying. There we go. Now I'll turn that on. Okay, see how that went inside my box now? Now I should get a trade either here or out of here. Everybody see that? What made you determine the bottom of the box? Those, the bottom of the box actually is just, that's my top of the box. But the bottom of the box is usually like near mid-band and a couple of bars. See, this is actually a bar up, and this may be a bar down. And that would be the way you draw your box. So I just kind of drew it the way I normally do. It's about an 8-tick box by mid-band. Okay, so we haven't gotten anything just yet. Oh, we got to turn that on to out. So we're short inside. Let's go touch plus 1. Touch plus 0 didn't get us anything because it didn't touch. I wanted that trade right where I had my support or my resistance drawn, but that's all right. We may feel a little heat on this one, unfortunately, because that's where I wanted it. I didn't have it turned on right. Yeah, the box actually, Mindy, just draws as an 8-tick box as a rule. You know, not all the time. It depends on, you know, the situation with how the bars, you know, popped and everything. But as a rule, it's going to be a 2-bar box. You know, see, I wanted that a little bit higher than that, not there, but we'll take it. But I'm going to take 2. If it breaks it. Maybe we'll get another chance. Look at that. Might get another. Now you could actually box it like this anyway because it wicked it. Now if it goes up here and kisses, we're going to get one anyway. And if it goes through and kisses, the bottom of the box, we'll get a trade also. Everybody see how that works? This is really a good way to trade. Now could you also see that you could clearly pretty easily draw like a trend line on here too. Now, what if we get faked into this trade? Where's our stop going to be? Anybody? What if, okay, we're in the trade. What if this is nothing but a little fake out? What if it goes a little higher? Or maybe it double tops before it goes back down. That happens a lot. Okay, where would your stop be on this trade? Anybody? Look to the left to trade the right. Let's see, they haven't kissed this resistance area right here just yet. It's right at mid-band. And truthfully, you'd almost have to put it right there, for now anyway, at 7 ticks up, because that's the swing. Okay. Now you are getting a low, a high, a higher low, and a higher high. Until we take this out, we're not really heading down. Now, what I like to do personally when I get in a trade like this, because I'm seeing what it's doing, I think it's going to do what I think it's going to do. It's going to come up and check that resistance it hadn't checked yet. I just about bet you it does. It might and it might not, Mindy, because the one thing about it, you know, is if I get in a trade like this, I always calculate out where I'm going to get out of the trade. Okay, for instance, if this goes up a little bit more and still rolls over, I'm going to still be okay, but I am feeling some heat. Okay, but I've got my stop just right at this swing for right now. Now, what I would probably do, and it's up to you if you want to do this, but I would probably do this, do a wedge trade. And add one. Unless it takes out this, and then I'll get stopped out. Okay. Now, I don't like this wedge trade as much as I would like another box. So I would probably box this in. If it goes below that line, I would probably add it. See there? Just went below support. Okay, now I'm going to tighten my stop. I got 10 tick stop now instead. See how it never took out? Always look to the left to trade the right. Always. And you'll be surprised what you'll get. Let's look to the left. Now, I also like to look to the left to see where major support is, just in case. And you've got some right across here. So I'd probably be protecting some of that coin on that trade right about at that line, because that's major support. Looking to the left to trade the right. See it? High, low, higher, high. That's your larger swings right there, by the way. All right. Now, we don't know right now if it's going to break it, do we? But see how that did just what I said it would do? But it went a little higher. But, you know, when they do this little zigzag like this, you got to realize that they're going to check every one of those swings. And if you look at this, that's just what they did. Let's draw the lines at them. There's one there. There's one there. And let's see, we didn't check the other one yet, so we may still check it too. And the other one is right here. Okay, so looks to me like they checked this one even a little higher. That's fine, sometimes do that, but they didn't take out the swing. And they checked this one for sure. See, it hit the line exactly. So see what they end up doing? They end up trying to check each one of these, because that's where they broke down. So they're going to check them before they decide if they're going to take it down some more. Okay. And the only way to get these P&Ls to really kick up there is to diagnose your charts like this. Okay. Now I also look at my chart like right now. If this, I still always look to the left to trade the right, and I look to see where would this change trends if it decided to go up. And it may not do it, but I still, in my mind, I have to look at that. So I look to the left to trade the right, thrust, retrace, thrust. So I see this as a swing that if they take out, come back and kiss, and take off, they would head up. Okay. Now, if this gets a lightning 3 before long, this will be my new swing that I'll look at a thrust, retrace, and take off. Okay. Well, it looks like we're going to do okay on this little trade. Everybody getting a little epiphany, seeing very possibly that, whoa, wait a minute, these things do check. And you can count on it, especially when they thrust down and they didn't do any swings whatsoever. No swings on the way down here. See that line go straight down? So what they end up doing is they go back and they check it. They say, okay, I broke down. I got a bunch of people short here, ha. And then I take them out and then I'll short again. That's what they do. They continually, because if you had gotten up, let's say that you would have seen this in real time and you said, oh, wow, it's breaking down. Oh, wow, do I short it? Oh, gosh, maybe I should have already done it. Oh, gosh, I'm going to short it now. That's what people do. And when you short it here at 64.10, they take it down a little bit more and you think, hey, I'm green. And then all of a sudden they're clear back at 22. That's why most people will lose money trading the markets, because they get in too late. Charles had a really good webinar on that, by the way, that one night. You either get in too late or too early. Now, too early can kill you just as bad, okay? But too late can definitely kill you too, because, you know, for instance, would you get in this trade on a trend line break or more in a box around midband like we teach, right? Around midband like we teach. Okay, now notice my stop went back to break even. Now, what if you had not even been trading this all night? Okay, you hadn't been trading this all night. Does anybody see another trade on here at all? Well, let's see if we can see one break and pull back and kiss. Where do you think that one more than likely will hit its head? Anybody? Still not heading up just yet, but we should have taken more contracts off already. We'll see what it does. Let's just leave it alone for a few minutes. But always look to the left to trade the right, because you will see, you know, for instance, I'm seeing a breakdown and I see resistance right here. See this little high, low, higher high? I see resistance right there. If this was to break down profusely, do you think, since it hasn't checked this, that it probably will, since that's on the left side of my chart? You know, they're doing the little right side right now, doing a little, trying to thrust, a little retrace, maybe an ABC, maybe break down. You know, of course, we'd obviously tighten our stop. And you might not want to go that tight. Go just above resistance. Is fine too. Okay? But I could just about bet you that more than likely, since they haven't checked that line right there at 13-ish, right there, that they're probably going to check it. They're more than likely going to check it. Let's just kill this for a minute and let's just see if they do. I'm going to run it at 500 times, and I already drew my line. Let's see if they check it. No check yet. No check yet. There's a check coming. Look at that. It's checking resistance, isn't it? So, since you drew your line on your chart, could you be ready to short this trade if it rolls over? You got to make a decision. Is it going to head up? Is it going to break? Looking to the left to trade the right. I've got a swing right across here that they really shouldn't take out. See it? And we could get this set up to take a rollover trade. Let's draw our line back at resistance again. All right? And let's see if we can get a trade. If it touches that line above it and comes back below it, I'm going to short it, because that's resistance. And this is resistance right here too. See that little swing to the left? So this is resistance. This is a little higher resistance. So this is actually a sweet spot for that trade right here. High, low, higher high. This is resistance on the left side of the chart, and this is resistance on the left side of the chart. So if it goes in this little box and rolls over, I'm going to short it. Okay? Now, like I said, always keep in mind on your chart, you've got to know when it's going to change trends too. Okay? And also keep in mind one other thing. When the market opens, like oil to give an example, all bets are off of what it's been doing and what it might still do, because they will a lot of times, go down all night long, and then we'll open that room and they'll take off like a little buzzsaw. And you'll see that continually. But guess what? You can trade it exactly the same way, just the opposite. So you want to see if we can get us a little short trade here? We'll do a region. We'll box it. Box it up in here. And we'll box it. Let's see, where was our resistance? Right there at that line. Okay, so if it kisses it and rolls, I'm going to get a trade, but I'd really rather have this one, if at all possible, because it hadn't checked it. But we'll take both of them if we can get them. So let's just watch it and see what it does. Touch plus. Now, does anybody see where this would have to break to head up? It would have to break 27 for right now. Now, it is heading up on the right side of the chart, but it's just kissing resistance and resistance. So far, anyway. Now, if this turns out to be a missile, we won't even get a trade because Object Trader won't take it unless we get a 2 ticks under or 2 ticks under and a confirmation tick. This is how there we go. This is how we get so many of those good trades like that, because, and we're going to get the second one too. Oh, just got a target, 10 ticks. Or I didn't move it quick enough. That's all right. Stop would be just above the box. See how resistance held? Looking to the left to trade the right. Okay? But always look at your chart, because on Friday I called a trade that was actually red background, and we came and we kissed an area, and you can see it when it happens. Let's see if we can get another one. It usually happens every day. That's a good little trade, isn't it? I would have probably added one, but I was talking, so I'm not going to add one now, because I'd be adding in what? A thrust. So I'm not going to do that. Now let's look to the left to trade the right. They checked this resistance. They haven't checked this resistance here, but they also haven't checked this resistance here to the left. Well, they just did. So see where I drew my line? If they kiss that, I'll add one. Because they haven't checked it yet. And if they go down, no big deal. Check it for me. Just checked it. Going to put my stop just above mid-band with this swing right here to the left. And we're good to go. So far, anyway. If it takes us out, it takes us out. We got our stop in. Everybody see a little bit more how, by looking at these, just like drawing in the room, I only missed on one trade today. And, as a rule, if you miss on one, it's going to be at that open when they try to do a little faking. But you also can't miss the trade simply because a lot of times they'll run like a house afire, and if you miss it, you're chasing a thrust. Okay, ooh, look at that, nice. All right, where would our stop be? Swing. Everybody see that? Now let's do something else. I'm going to fast forward this a little bit and see if anybody can see where the next trade is on this chart. What do you think? What says the team? Because I see it already. I'm going to draw the line. There's one right there, and there's one right there, and there's one right there, and That's pretty close to the same. So this would be a little sweet spot if this was to decide to break down and come back and kiss, right? Sweet spot. Sweet spot area, see it? Ding, 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 ding. How about that? Now, I didn't add one, but could anybody clearly see you could have by drawing on your chart? Look to the left to trade the right. Oh, wow. You got it totally taken out. Now, let's look and see what's happening. Okay, we have a high, low, lower high, lower low. Okay, now they're taking this out right here. All right, we've got support right here on the left. Look to the left to trade the right. Does anybody remember this little trade that was in the room on Friday? I think this is it, or it's like it. Because see, this is at the time we opened the room. See, it's 7:50 or so. So what do you want to bet that they thrust up, they pull back and kiss? Now, don't take it. If you're going to take a breakout, you're literally going to already be in it, okay? Now, what I usually do if I take a breakout is I'm going to go ahead and literally do, if it touches that line, that is. And that's too late now. It's not going to touch my line. I'm not going to chase it either. If it touched my line or in that spot, I would buy the 3 and go for 10 ticks. Because what's the rule of thumb, everyone? You got to break resistance, kiss it, and then take off. Okay? So if it just touches resistance, let's say that I bought that and I just want 10 ticks. Well, then I've got to pretty much put my stop pretty tight, right? Okay? Because see, it's just kissing that resistance area that I talked about. Does anybody remember this trade on Friday? I called it at 87. I think this is that trade. I'm pretty sure. No, it was Thursday. It was Thursday I called it. Because Friday was the 12th. Remember this trade? It hit 87, and we bought it at 87. Anybody remember it? But see, that can be a little bit dangerous, especially at the open, because see, now I'm feeling a little bit of heat on it, but this support needs to hold. And that's where we had our stop down, was at 87 with the close of a bar, remember? And let's see what this little trade did. Took us out the first time. There's your little bounce. And we didn't get taken out just now because I put my stop at the support area. See it right over here to the left? And I'd probably go ahead and go even for 8 ticks or whatever if it, there we go, we got it anyway. But does anybody remember, and do you see clearly how they do these things? Okay, now let's look at this and let's diagnose it in real time, because this was diagnosed in real time on Thursday. All right, we look to the left to trade the right. Let's draw on our chart. All right, we have support here on the right side of the chart. Everybody see it? Low, high, higher low, higher high. Right side of the chart. Now on the left side of the chart, we have support here and also here. So we'll draw our little swing here, and we'll draw our little swing right there. Okay, so this is a little sweet spot for a trade. This little area right here. And the way I normally do this, now I don't usually do like 3 at once, always. I do if I go for 10 ticks. But if this comes in this little box at all and then pops up again, that would be your long. And if you remember that trade, we actually called that in the room live at 87. And why was that called live? The same exact thing I've been teaching all night. And if you were here Thursday, you remember it too. Okay? Because Thursday, even though this background and everything was red, this mid-bend was red and everything, we saw this happen in real time. They popped up above resistance. They came back and kissed it. We bought a trade. We got 10 ticks. Then we waited for the trade to come back and kiss 87, and we got it again. And that's what they'll do. They'll thrust, they'll retrace, they'll thrust, they'll retrace. And if you draw on your charts and look to the left to trade the right, you'll see swing, swing, and even here's another one right here. So see, that's your little sweet spot, and then here's another one right here. So that's how I drew my box like that. Everybody remember that trade? If you'll remember that trade, by the way, there was also a little white box that drew too, because we draw a box at 759. And if I remember right, that box drew about where my blue box was. Okay? But you always want to, if you're going to take a breakout, just be sure to go for a quick scalp, because the rule of thumb is what? You have to get the thrust and the retrace. The retrace is your most important part of your trade. Okay? Because if that comes down and kisses in that box, I'm going to fire some contracts. Okay? You can't take out this swing, otherwise you wouldn't be heading up. Everybody see it? High, low, higher, high. So you can't take out, what is that? 80, what is that? I can't read it. 85. Okay, so you can't take out 85 or it's not heading up anymore. But it still is heading up if it checks one of these lines here without taking out 85. So I would take 85 off the table because it can't break it. So you just remove it, and now you've got your sweet spot here instead. Everybody see that? Because if they take out 85, they're no longer heading up. Now, could they wick it and then pop back up? Yeah, and you can box that too. Okay? But when you look on the right side of the chart versus the left side of the chart, you can clearly see they've already broken resistance. They broke resistance here. They broke resistance here. Now they're going to come back and kiss it. Would this have been a decent little phantom trade? Yeah. Let's speed this up a little bit. This was fairly slow on Thursday. See that little buy right there? See it come into my box? Now, did that turn into a beautiful trade? Remember, now I didn't just fire this just now because we didn't draw a box and everything, but do you remember what I called on that trade the other day? I called 18 and it came to 17. Remember it? Okay, but looking to the left to trade the right. Okay, now, where are your swings for your pullback? Let's say you missed that trade entirely, because this is the next trade that Charles got. We drew a line on our chart. We drew a line on our chart. Okay, we know that it's already checked here. See it? Look to the left to trade the right. So I expect it actually to pull back into where it hasn't checked yet. See where it thrust up and it's not checked that swing there? Can't take this one out. If it takes this one out, it's no longer heading up. So this is a sweet area right here for them to kiss. And we called this trade at 96. Does anybody remember it? See there? And if anybody remembers, we were literally in this trade for like, oh, it was like ridiculous. You know, we had our stop in just under the swing, you know, under mid-band, like so. And this thing came down to mid-band like 5 times, if I remember right. It was just mind-numbing. But every time that it came down to that little 96 area right there at that line, you could buy another one. Because when it comes down like that and you see it kiss support, you know, and then you just add one. See what I mean? And then it comes down again, you could add another one. Or you could take some off and then go back in, either way. But this thing literally went up, didn't take out the resistance, and rolled back over and checked this same stinking area like 5 times. It was unreal. We kept thinking, are you going to finally break? Well, guess what? If it would have broken, where would we have shorted it? Anybody? When it broke support, came back and kissed and rolled. But it didn't do that. Does anybody remember this trade on Friday or Thursday? It did this monster move. went up to 27. I called it in the room at 27. Anybody remember this trade? Came down again and tested our line. I was about to go ballistic thinking, are you going to ever go up? And it tested up there, and I even called the trade out at line 6, or at 27, remember? And Charles held it a little bit, and he took it out. I believe he took it out at line 6, if I remember, or maybe a trend line. I don't remember exactly, but I called 27 exactly. And does anybody remember what happened after that? It broke resistance, but it never retraced. There's your only retracement right there that silly thing did. And if you actually took that trade, guess what? You just got to look to the left to trade the right. All right, we missed that whole move. Remember, I had a trend line drawn and even boxed it, but I was through trading. But can you clearly see where it has not checked yet? And could you be ready to take this trade if it went up there? And the answer is yes, and watch what actually happened. Got to always remember that if they haven't checked an area, they're going to check it. See there? Just checked it. So could you actually have shorted 96? Because we called it in the room at 96 when it kissed there. And I don't remember exactly how far it went down, but I'm pretty sure it went down a little bit. If it breaks that little swing, I'm going to add one. If it breaks that, I'm going to add one more. Now, keep in mind that this is not selling a thrust yet. This is actually just a rollover trade. I just watch to see where it's breaking these little support areas. Okay? Now, notice we forgot to put extra targets on it, but that's okay. What does everybody think about this way of trading? Because these trades were literally called in the room live on Thursday. And what I wanted to show you today was, and by the way, I wasn't up at 1 o'clock in the morning, so these trades weren't called that we took up here. But see how we drew on the chart each and every time so we get those trades? It's just a beautiful way to trade. You've just got to look to the left to trade the right. You know, where would this thing break back to the upside if it decided to go up? You can clearly see that if you just simply put your, let me get this stop out of the way for a second. All right, so I can talk. If you were trading this to the short side, and I was to fast forward this, where do you think this would actually change trends? Let's see if it'll do it so you can tell me when you see it. Hopefully it's not going so fast we won't be able to see it. I'll just close this out. We don't care. I'm going to go ahead and just let this thing go. And I want y'all to tell me when it changes trends. I'm drawing on my chart. Still heading down so far, isn't it? Draw my lines on my chart. Still drawing my lines on my charts. Let's see if you can tell me when this thing changes trends. Because they usually do by afternoon or something. Maybe this one won't. We'll find out. Looks like it's trying. It's a trying. Okay, real quick. Does anybody see that right here at mid-band, they busted up above resistance? See how they took it out just barely? Could you have boxed this trade in and very possibly take this break back above resistance right here? What do you think? Anybody? I'd box it in. But what's the safer trade on that? Anybody? A thrust and a retrace, right? So let's draw our line on our chart and see if we can get that instead. So here's our A, B, a little higher low anyway, by a tick. So let's see if we can thrust up a little bit and pull back and kiss that line, and we'll buy it. Only if it does it. We may not buy it. We'll just see if it will. I'll fast forward it. I'm going to buy it if it goes back above that line. Look to the left to trade the right. Got a swing right across here. There'd be a scalp. but it's not enough of a scalp, so I'll go up to another swing and see if I can scalp that instead. Always look to the left to trade the right. And we'll put our stop, just in case, right underneath mid-band with the close of the bar. Okay, because this is an early trend change. It may not trend change. We're going to find out here in just a minute. We'll see. But I like it though, because it did change trends as far as a higher high than the left side. And you box it in at mid-band. And you put a nice tight stop. I've got a 6-tick stop on it, so it can't kill us. And there you go. You just got you a trade. Now you can protect it at just under break even with your little micro swing. 3 ticks. Well, I didn't get my target, did I? Tried. Let's see if it got it. No, yep, got it. Oh, wow, it even turned the background green now. Now, real quick, before we wrap, because I know I'm running a little bit over, does everybody see why this was a trend change? Let me get rid of these lightning swings so you can clearly see it. Because when you're trading and you're looking, and by the way, we're going to have an indicator that's going to watch for this. See how that broke that resistance right there? Now, you don't take the breakout trade. See how it broke resistance right there? But look at this beautiful mid-band trade. Look at this lightning swing, high, low, higher, high. Could you have just simply put your stop just underneath this swing when you got in this trade? Yes. Okay? Now, if you were not in this trade at all, where do you think more than likely it would pull back to? Because it already did it. I could show you where it's at. Everybody see that? It thrust up above, and it pulled back and kissed right there on that swing right there too. Okay? So when we draw in the room in the morning, this is exactly what we're doing, okay? And watching 4 charts is a little bit hairy sometimes, but you can clearly see that we do a pretty darn good job of it, making sure that everybody makes money as much as possible every single day. And you can do it by seeing on your chart where this thing will change to go the other way. And I could fast forward this again and you could clearly see it again. I always draw it, my lines in my head as far as that goes. If it broke this and came back and kissed and rolled, it would be a short. It may go higher than that, and it'll be a higher one, but you've always got to draw it on your chart. Let's just see where it went. I'll tell you when it changes trends. I'm going to kill this trade. We don't care. I just want to see if it changes trends. All right, right here, they should change trends if they break that line. Or this one. This is your lightning 3. All right, but if we get a higher lightning 3, it's going to be higher, right? I've got it going 500 times, so let's see if we can figure it out. When does this change trends? This went up a bunch the other night. Anybody remember this? It was irritating that it went up this much while we were sleeping, but they do that. See if we can tell if and when a trend change happens. Now, granted, we would have stayed in this trade, right? Because obviously lightning was good. I'm just trying to see if I can get y'all to see a trend change when it happens. Let's get rid of this. Get rid of this one. See if we can get a trend change. Lightning 3 should show up here pretty soon. Maybe. Higher high. So now this is your trend change area. See it? Clearly see it. And if it breaks the line and kisses the line, I'm going to short it. See right there? Bingo. Okay? Everybody see why I did that like that? I drew my lines as it was going up. I drew my lines as it was going up. What did it do? It broke. It broke. It was no longer trending up, was it? So when it broke and kissed, that was a short. Everybody see that? And you can get a quick 10-tick trade on those any day of the week usually. Now, if you missed that trade, guess what? You can still clearly see where the next one is because you can draw on your charts, look to the left, trade the right. And let's see if we can get, we're going to get a break first. Let's get this line out of the way. Let's see if we can get it. Oh, we got resistance right up here too. Duh. Has not checked this. Once it did, there it goes. See it kiss resistance? Bingo. Got another trade. See how you can draw on your charts and get those? Now keep in mind that this was even when we had the room open on Friday, and we shorted that trade. If anybody remembers right there where we boxed it in. But see how you can diagnose it in real time, and you can look to the left to trade the right and see where they've been and where they're going to check again. Okay? And that's going to be something that everybody should be able to just start really figuring out, okay? Because it's real. What if it breaks here and kisses it? Let's see if it will. Broke it. All right, now the kiss. There's kiss. Bingo. See there? You always just got to draw on your charts. You know, will they always work out for more than 10 ticks? Not necessarily, because this could start just going sideways. But it clearly kissed resistance. Okay? So that taught you a little bit also tonight about kiss trades too. Okay? And again, we didn't get to talking too much about predictors, but predictors do work. All right? Always look to the left to see where they haven't checked. They haven't checked there yet either. See that? You think they will? Let's find out. Bingo. Checked it. See it? Checked in my little box. Anyway, that's the way we draw on those charts. And that's how we make, you know, good money in that room each day, is by drawing on our charts and looking to the left to trade the right. Where have they been? Where are they going? And you've always got to see that. Okay? I hope everybody enjoyed this, because this trade that was called on Friday, to give an example, if you just simply did 2 contracts, was a $600 trade. And you literally felt no heat. Okay? All right. We'll go ahead and wrap. Thanks, everybody, for coming. Hope you enjoyed it. And did I miss any questions? And if I did, Kurt, let's see. So at that first purple retrace at about 12:30 and candle rolled over, can you tell me why you wouldn't take it? On which one was it? Or can you show me in the morning and I'll go over, even as we trade, we like to teach also. All right. And you can clearly see where, you know, for instance, where would they change trends on this chart if they decided to go up? We don't know that they're going to go up, but could they check that and roll over possibly later on? So you're getting a little higher low. Could you box this? Anybody? That's a phantom trade. Yeah, I'd definitely box it. Put my stop just above the swing. And there you go. That's a phantom trade. See how you can always look to the left and see where they've been and where they're going. All right. Again, thanks, everyone, and we'll do it for real in the room tomorrow. Okay, and if I missed anybody's questions, I apologize. I was trying to show everybody as much as I possibly could, you know, so that everybody could see how you could trade this. Now, will you make 38.70? Not necessarily. When I get to a certain figure with the kiddos account, our family account, and my own account and stuff like that, I don't overtrade. I'm just trying to show you on these charts where you can see just where you should be able to get in the trades. Okay? And that's by watching these micro swings. All right, again, thanks, everybody. We'll see you in the morning. Bye now. Let's see, David, just real quick. What about when a candle just wicks or touches a line? Can you take that trade, or does it have to penetrate the line? Well, if you draw your little boxes on the chart and you're not taking out, your certain areas, for instance, like let's say this right here to give an example. Let's say you're short on this trade. They should kiss 24. They shouldn't go any higher than 32. So let's see if that trade actually still worked out. We shorted it up there, but I've already killed it. Yeah, see, it's still working. See how it's kissing? Kissed resistance. And down she goes. And you can put your stop just above the swing. And just always look to the left to trade the right. You will see where they're going and where they've been. It's a lot easier than a lot of people think. Okay? Thanks, everybody, for coming. We'll see you in the morning. Good night.